Well, hello there, YouTube. I wanted to start my video tonight by showing you a couple of upgrades in my shop. As you know, I do lots of filming in here for my builds, and the subject matter today is going to be this UMX timber. The only modification that this plane really needs is one little tiny white light, and that's not needed at all. This plane is great. You can see really good at night, but I still just like the added benefit of having that white light that shines at me when I'm flying away from myself. And what a great little plane. A couple complaints I've got, and this is mostly just seasonal. These tires shoot debris and junk all over the place. In fact, you can see a little bit on here. So anyway, we'll get to that here in just a second. I wanted to show you one thing I did here is I added some lighting in the shop, and it's crazy bright. It's like insanely bright in here now. So I was going to show you one tip. I got these lights. These are LED lights. Just got at Menards. Nothing special. These ones are non-dimmable, and you'll notice they don't break, which is awesome. These ones are dimmable, not that it matters. And what I did is I used a splitter that splits to outlets. And the reason I wanted to show you that is because I store my planes on the ceiling. Lots of planes. I know that people have bigger collections than this, but I just wanted to show you this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planes in that stack. Not the least of which is this beautiful ASH 26 2.6 meter. And you'll notice that I have lights straddling the wing now. That wing was casting a shadow over my main primary work surface, and it was driving me nuts. So what did I do? I went and got these little splitters, and then I just split them twice. Now these only consume 9 watts of load, and so I'm using 4 of them. I had 100-watt bulbs in these housings before. Let's see if this one survived. I'd be curious to see if it survived. These are 60-watt equivalent LED bulbs. They're a lot more directional than just a regular incandescent bulb. A 100-watt bulb will just cream a 60-watt bulb like this. But what I have now, and the other thing is, you'll notice I'm grabbing them, and they're not hot. They're not hot at all down here. They're just like lukewarm. Up here there's a heat sink, and they get a little bit toasty. But it's not like a 100-watt bulb. A 100-watt bulb would be burning my A330's beautiful wing right now. So just wanted to show you some of the rationale behind doing this versus the Y splitters was just to make room so that I can get these planes in and out. So I wanted to give you that quick tip. But then I've got 2 here, and the 2 bulbs really help to brighten up the space. And we're only consuming 18 watts of electricity where we were doing 100 before. So even in this ridiculous lighting effect here, we're consuming less than 1/3 of the power. And then over here we've got 2 and 2, and it just really does a great job of lighting up. I also went through the trouble before I did this, took a 24-volt power supply, and I just wanted to show you these lights here. These ones are not as amazing, and that's what prompted my project here. And so I wanted to show you that, and been doing some hanging so that we have more room, because my shop was getting overwhelmed with my existing planes. So real quick side note, and then we're going to get right into the LEDs on this. Guys, real quick, wanted to show you I also built up some more CA. I discovered one other issue that you'll want to maybe give some attention to. Flying a plane like this, you're going to be putting the wingtips down by the ground, trying to do one-wheel landings, cool things like that. Get yourself some CA over those wires. I had a close call on this side, and pulled out one of those and had a little scrape on it. Just nothing major, but if you do that for 3 or 4 flights, you may have a problem. So I went ahead and coated the whole thing all the way down to this area, because this washout on the wings is going to leave them vulnerable. So also just wanted to do a quick update on this nose that I had fixed from the battery tray slash hood. I added a little bit more material in here to get the shape a little bit more to what I was wanting it to be, and I'm happy with it. The battery holder has been working really good. Real happy with that. So without further ado, I also painted the tip, or excuse me, the spinner, and I just wanted it to be silver, and I also painted the wheel hubs silver front and back. This one was already silver, so I didn't have to do anything there, but I took Big Brother and did the same thing up there too. So I painted all the wheels silver, and it's cool. So now they match just like they had before, with the exception of the swoop here is red instead of being orange. So, which I was bummed about. I really liked the red that they picked on this plane, and I was a little bit less fond of this. So what we're going to do on this project to be fairly simple, we're going to take a single white LED that's going to sit right here, and let's just dig in right now. The first step, of course, is I take these LEDs, similar to what I showed you up here on this project, guys. This is actually out of a industrial sign, and they're made by GE, and these are designed to be kind of like suitable for damp locations, okay? Not wash down, not anything like that, but they're very heavy. And you can see I have to cut these up, and once I cut those up, I refine it down to this little board level, and what we're going for is this little LED here on the board. It's a surface mount LED, and so for that reason, you can't really easily desolder this because it is too weak and it will be destroyed. So what we'll do is and then I take it down to about like this. See how small that is, guys? This is one that I had left over from the last project. I had trouble getting that on the ASH. I did this tail light here, and this thing is gorgeously bright. Love it. Very easy to see even in the daylight. So this is so small, and the reason I wanted to show you this is you're probably thinking you're going to have a hard time finding an LED that's going to fit this thin surface. Well, I've got them here. And this is no wimp of a light. They're very bright. Just to show you, that thing is going to fit gorgeously, guys. Look at this. Look how nice that's going to fit. And we're going to have that pointed right on the round of the bottom of the rudder so that it points down on the ground. When you're doing those low passes, you can see the light on the ground. And we're just going to chase the wires, and then we're going to bridge, and then we're just going to chase them back down, either through a cut, or we're going to chase into the fuse right here. And what type of wire I'm going to be using, and I just wanted to discuss this with you real quick. This is the wire that was used by Horizon. It's perfectly fine. If you can get a small wire like that, go for it. But alternately, I'd highly encourage you to use this motor winding stuff. It's enamel coated magnet wire, okay? This stuff you can get at Radio Shack for, I don't know, a couple of bucks. If you can find a Radio Shack that's still in business. If not, just go online and find something, or I'll link to it in the description below. And these things are basically coated winding wire, and so if you take your hot soldering iron, you can basically just heat up the tip and it'll take that varnish right off. Okay, so you still want to be kind of careful. See how it's got a copper shine to it. And then of course you can tin that, which is really nice because most solid wires like this, they don't like to be tinned. But these things tin great once you get that varnish off. Don't try to scrape it off, you'll weaken the wire significantly. Okay? So that's what we're going to use for our wire that's going to get us up to where we're going to pull power. And that's the next thing I want to talk to you about, guys. We can't pull power from the red lights on top. Okay, so basically, we can't tap the power from this, because this is well, I don't want to call it a flashing red light, but it is technically supposed to be a flashing red light. It's an oscillation, a slow oscillation up and down. So if we did that, then you'd have an oscillating light back here. And I'm not talking about a flashing light. We've got flashing lights here that would be like a strobe effect. We want them to be solid. So we have a couple of different choices on getting power. One being a servo. Okay, servos are fine. However, on these ultra micros, they're really kind of hard to tap. So what we're probably going to end up doing is we'll have to go ahead and, of course, pull this hood assembly off. And what we'll end up doing, we can pull out our little battery holder. We'll end up going into something else like these white LEDs from up front. And so that means we're just going to chase our wire up to the extent that we can control it. And we'll get it into a spot where it can be taped along the side, so it's out of the way of everything. Or we'll find one of these wires that's meandering along, and we'll use it. So that's going to get us our power. That's going to be a constant on. But we do need to be careful about that voltage. Normally, the voltage that I run off for my bench testing is just off of this dead ESC. A word of warning for you: if you tap power from a Horizon Hobby LED system like this, which there may actually even be a spare channel in there, it's up on the ceiling there of the plane, then they will be running at something like 2 volts, maybe 3 volts if you're lucky. Some of these LEDs will not really get that bright at that voltage level. But as you're used to with these ultra micro linear servos, they're going to be running on your receiver voltage, which is going to be like 5 volts, 5.5 volts. So with the correct current limiting resistor, you can make this sucker really bright. And that's what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Stick with me through this video or short series of videos, and you can copy right along. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get this wire pulled off. And I'll just make it long enough to reach the whole length of the plane and then some, because this stuff is cheap and I'd rather waste a little bit of wire than fight it. Okay, so we've already got one side tinned. One thing you want to carefully consider is if you're going to do an LED project with this type of wire, you have to be able to control it at any point where it's going to articulate so that it's not bearing the load of the movement. Okay, so what that means is you basically have to have the wire jump across this little point where the rudder is going to move, so you mitigate some of that movement. Or you run that wire back to a common point and then you do a braided cable to go back to the LED, which we could do that here today too. So not 100% sure how that's going to work out. But now that we have the wire long enough, we've got it retrapped in the trap points here, because this stuff will unspool on you if you're not careful. We're going to cut it. And this is one of the steps that I've shown in the videos before on my LED projects. So I'm not going to show every last aspect of it, just for, for fear of getting too long. These video series are not meant to be short by any means. Believe me, they're not. But I don't want them to be horrifically boring. So let me show you how I refine this down, because I actually was thinking about not using the LED that we had from the previous video. So we'll do that, and then this wire's ready to go. It's very hard to see up along this plywood backdrop. So the first thing we can do is we can figure out polarity too. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll just plug in this battery. This is just a 3S pack that's got one cell that's screwed up. Going through a BEC, which is part of an ESC that had been blown up. It's energizing the breadboard, and of course you can see the activity going on here. A little 505 timing circuit, that might be a 10 ohm resistor there. And let's get this ready so we can test for polarity. Clean the tip, give it a quick mechanical scrape down. Then we'll just put a little bit of solder on the tip. And I'm just touching it, guys, that's all. Very easy, very simple. Okay, so now these things are super small, so they're kind of a pain to work with, but they do work really good because they're super light. Anytime you add weight to the tail of a plane, you're tempting fate with becoming tail heavy. Okay? I'm not saying it'll happen, but... And you're talking about in the milligrams what we're adding for weight. It's inconsequential amounts of weight. Because it's so small, it's actually even hard to put this stuff in the breadboard because it doesn't want to stay. Some folks will take and double or triple this up, and then it will act like a braided cable. I'm not going to do that today. Okay, so the current limiting resistor is between the negative, which is the row that's on the top of this strip. Okay, so I'm going to slide this in. We can actually shut off the red flashing lights if we wanted to. So we'll move that over. And these strips, the vertical strips, are attached together. So this is going to give us the ability to temp this together quick for testing purposes. If you haven't ever used a breadboard, that's what breadboards are used for. It's called a solderless breadboard. Okay, so we're just going to slide that in there. And like I said, it's tricky to get those things to want to go in there. So I might actually need to take my own advice. We're going to go ahead and double this up just to give it a little bit more mechanical strength and a little more thickness. Clean the tip. And we'll tin it just to show you if that works or not. Okay, so now we should be able to take this, and hypothetically you can have a little bit more thickness to hold on to and push that into the breadboard. So now we need to do the same thing to the minus side. Now I've got a little blob of solder on here, so I'm going to actually clean that up a little bit. Just as quick as that too. Now this is going to go to the positive side. So this is going to be a live set of wires. For whatever reason, that one went on okay. Alright, so now I've got my positive side in my right hand, and in my left hand I've got the negative side. So we're just going to test for light. Nope. And there it is. It's blinding. Guys, it's blinding. So now we know the polarity. So we can lay these two wires down, and you'll notice that it doesn't short out, guys, because this varnish is like the sheath of a regular cable. So now we're going to unplug our battery just to de-energize the circuit, and we're going to go ahead and mark the negative side, and we're just going to do this as little as we can get away with and still be able to see it. Okay, so we just made that little black mark on the negative side, which is going to be where the current limiting resistor is going to go. So now we could try to desolder this, but in my experience it's been kind of a vain effort. So what we'll do is we'll just peel off some of this surface mount stuff, or better yet, just cut it. And if that fails, we'll go to a bigger tool. This middle one's the worst because it's got those two fuse points in the board. And so it's always the one I dread doing. But this batch of LEDs has been great. I wish I could just give you guys a link to go buy them, but I can only link to the colored ones. And then the ones that are like I used to use. The 3 filament style is what I call them. They're not filaments in LED, of course. Okay, so you're beginning to understand why we marked the negative, because we flipped this around like 14 times already. And this is about the least efficient way you can get an LED, by the way. But sometimes you do what you gotta do to get the small LED you want. Now I'm going to take this blade and I'm going to just ride it right almost next to that. Not so close that it tips into the blade. Okay? And then I have to take this multi-layer silicone board here, and I'm going to actually cut that in half lengthwise. Okay? So we've now got that cut down. So it's a little bit thinner, but we got to take a little bit more material out still. Okay, and at this point, if you wanted to, you could take and sand down a little bit more material, but I think we're okay. That little bit of backing will help with strength and heat dissipation, so we're going to keep it. And you see how I'm just on the edge of my scissors, which are actually on strippers. That little 45-degree angle, or whatever that is that the blade is at, it's a nice little resting spot for when you're done with your cut. These little surface-mounted devices, guys, they're quite delicate. And that's why I stopped trying to desolder these. I actually successfully desoldered a handful of them, but I was burning through about 3 to 4 of them for every one that I would get, and it just was getting old. So now that we have that done, the first thing we're going to do is retest. I do not have any interest in doing this. If I killed this LED, we'll move on to another one. But I test every time. Okay? Our dark mark is on that side, so we can do the same thing for polarity. We've got our circuit on, and we'll just test. It's very challenging to get these wires to touch properly. I think I may have pulled something out here. Okay, hold on. We're going to try this again, guys. Because I'm pretty sure I didn't kill that LED this time. I've done it before, but I don't think I did this time. It's amazing how quick that solder cools, too. Oh, that son of a gun. We're just going to try again from scratch. See if we can get a little better luck on this. And it's a pain to work with this stuff, but guys, it pays dividends, because you'll save a lot of weight on this project. But I suppose if you didn't care about the extra couple of grams, you could do it another way. I'm actually going to go across the leg of the resistor this time, just because it's giving me a little bit more room in there. And as long as you have a current limiting resistor, and it's not too small, oh no, did I kill it? I think I might have. Okay, so the LED that I think I may have damaged, I'm going to solder my wires onto it in my last attempt to get it to work. So you have the positive wire here. And it's very tricky to do this, but you'll basically heat the cable up and then touch it to the solder point. Okay? Let it cool and you'll know it's working because it's holding on. Then we'll take the negative side, and it's de-energized right now, but I'm going to go ahead and energize it now by plugging in my ESC. Okay, so now we're just going to hold this wire here and heat the wire, and there you go, guys, it's working. I was gonna say I didn't think I killed it, but okay, so now that we know that it should work, I'm gonna go ahead and de-energize it for this part of the test. And then I'm going to take a little bit more solder and get it on the end of my soldering iron. And then I'm going to hold this wire down with something heavy. And this is going to give me the ability to control this solder a little bit better. Heat the wire. And just stick that cable into the solder. Okay, so now it's holding on. So as soon as we energize the circuit, it should come on. But we didn't get it yet. So I'm going to go ahead and clean the tip again. We're going to try one more time. Okay, so that should be working. Maybe I pulled out the lead on the other end. Oh yeah, that's what's going on. See? As I wiggle this wire, let's just touch this one side of the resistor. Or wait, is it the positive side that's not making contact? And sure, there's a million ways to skin this cat, guys. You could just go source out some small LEDs if you wanted. But I tend to be too cheap for that. Okay, there it is. See this? Okay, so the breadboard is evidently just a little bit too wide, and that is extremely bright, guys. See, and it pulls back and it lets go, but if I push on this wire, so it's just the fact that the wire is not making contact properly. Okay, so that's good, and at this point we can test for heat. Heat is our enemy with this project, so we just want to see how hot it's getting. So it's getting warm, but not crazy hot. And that 10 ohm resistor is doing okay. So let's unplug this for now. We've got that more or less done. We can trim these extra leads here that come off the end. And that'll get us taken care of on this LED. Okay. So now, because we're going to mount this on, a thin surface, kind of like the head of this tool, these wires are going to have to come down close to one another. So what I need to do is I need to protect the wires from touching, because it's just a little varnish that's keeping those wires from touching. So normally I wouldn't care about that, because it'd be, sheathed in some sort of coating, like a black and a white or whatever color they might be. So we're actually gonna take a little bit of regular, this would be a medium CA, not foam safe in this case. We're gonna unscrew the kicker so we can just grab that out. We're actually gonna take this and just get those leads in such a way that when we're ready to mount this on the tail, we don't even have to think about it, it's already done. Okay, so I'll just do a little bit of CA on both sides, just a little bit across the face. We don't want to try to get it on the back, because that'll make it harder to mount. Okay, so just grab the kicker and just let it drip on there. See that big drip of whatever kicker? Okay, cool. So now that should be done. So now we just need to see, I got a big drip of glue on the back. I was trying to avoid that, but not a big deal. If you have a fine piece like this and you don't want to run the risk of damaging it, there's a trick I'm going to show you right now. Once I get the bottle on this and I get this screwed back on, is you can take and heat up. Now, I wouldn't do it with a soldering iron. A soldering iron would be harder to control the heat. Get your hot blade And then just watch this, guys. Watch this. We can melt away that CA. Okay, a little bit more heat needed. I'm going to just make that blade so it's red. Okay. And there you go. Probably shouldn't spend a lot of time breathing that, otherwise you'll end up like me. Okay, so a little bit more on the side and we're done. If I would have been thinking through a little bit better, I would have held that so it was pointed downward. Okay, so that's gonna take care of that shape issue I had with it. So now let's plug it in and see if it's working. If it fries, then it'll just fry this very thin wire. But I don't suspect it will. Okay, so just wiggling and jiggling back here to make sure it's gonna have good contact. Okay. Make sure the light doesn't turn off when I wiggle and jiggle up here. Back here is where it's shutting off. Okay, so we're good there. So now we can go ahead and continue the project. So we're going to do that. Mounting the LED is the next step. So we'll go ahead and get a place where we can set this upside down. I actually built a really simple UMX holder. So I just built this really simple UMX plane holder, and it works for most planes that I've had that are UMXs because you need to support the tail somehow. And this plane just seems like maybe it's a little bit longer than some that I've worked on in the past, but we need it to be upside down for this. So I'm just, these are just foam pieces, of course. So it just kind of hugs the plane, and then that keeps it off your table while you're working. Because everything likes to damage UMX planes. It's like the universe is against them. Okay, cool. So, now we need to glue this thing onto the tail surface. We can go ahead and unplug this, but we want to mark the negative side with a black mark. Or something else, but the black mark is probably the easiest way to do it. And that's the side that will receive the current limiting resistor. Unless, of course, you go through a controller, and then you may not need a current limiting resistor. We won't need the soldering iron for a little bit, so we'll unplug that. Let that stay cool. Oh, and by the way, I was saying milligrams earlier. That's because I wasn't 100% sure what size resistor we're going to use. If we use this resistor, we'd be talking about a gram or so total added weight. So we may actually add milligrams still because we'll use an 1/8 of a watt resistor rather than this 1/4 watt resistor. It's quite a bit smaller. So, but we'll have to go to a higher size, like maybe 100 ohm. So let's just double check that we won't have an issue with quality of lighting on that. So we'll just plug this in. This, of course, is going to touch the one side of the resistor. So we'll just hold it this time. And then the positive side, we'll just go into the other terminal there. Okay, so you can see that's plenty bright for what we're doing. So really now just temperature test again. Let it run for a few seconds here. Make sure it's not getting hot. Make sure it's not burning anything. Make sure it's not even thinking about doing any of that. I'm satisfied. Okay, cool. So we use a 100 ohm, 1/8 of a watt resistor to actually take care of that. So we're maybe be a gram into this total project. So we'll come back and get that mounted in just a second.